Choices by Nikki Giovanni. If I can't do what I want to do, then my job is to not do what I don't want to do. It's not the same thing, but it's the best I can do. If I can't have what I want, then my job is to want what I've got and be satisfied that at least there is something more to want. Since I can't go where I need to go, then I must go where the signs point, though always understanding parallel movement isn't lateral. When I can't express what I really feel, I practice feeling what I can express. And none of it is equal, I know. But that's why mankind alone among animals learns to cry.
So we are pilgrims progressing, as American Unitarian Reverend James Freeman Clarke says, onward and upward forever. Or another James Russell Lowell, who was the son of a Unitarian minister, he said, the new theology will be the continuity of human development in all worlds, or the progress of humankind, onward and upward forever. This has been a core tenet of our liberal faith for a few hundred years. Liberal theology is optimistic and hopeful. It does not believe in damnation, but the salvation for all human souls. That we're all on a journey home. So for me, this means that all roads lead to God. All roads lead home. All roads, no matter how we judge, lead us individually or collectively as a species toward a better version of ourselves. And I can't always see the progress, but I know in my heart humanity is destined to become better and better and better. And that road sometimes takes 2 steps forward and 1 step back, but I believe progress for us as a people is inexorable. Now, when I apply this belief toward people I don't agree with or who I might even despise at times, that's where the rub is for me. That's where my theology is really put to the test. And you understand this. It's hard to justify this universalistic belief that they too are destined to become better versions of themselves, no matter their stage of faith, that they are us. But wisdom teaches that we don't know the full story of our lives, let alone anybody else's life. So I reserve my harsh comments and thoughts for the occasional expressions of exasperation and bewilderment about the choices some of our fellow human beings make when it comes to their own best interests. And I need grace for my own life, and so I try to give grace. Well, that is my perspective I want to give to you this morning, and I want to use the wisdom of 2 stories. Really, it will be 3 stories. But for the sake of my sermon, 2 stories. One, the book The Alchemist. Many of you have probably read it. 1988 by Pablo Coelho. Sold 20 million copies worldwide, translated into countless languages. And the other written by the author or authors of the book of Luke and the Bible. And the Bible has sold an estimated 3.9 billion copies worldwide. So both of these stories are well worn. I want to start with the latter story, Luke, where Jesus tells a story about the prodigal son, and then move into the story of the alchemist to hopefully show that seeing your life as an adventure, as a pilgrimage, our theme, will provide you with the lessons you need to manifest your best every day. And I hope to show you that the cliche is true. It's not about arriving or the destination. It's really about the journey, the dreams that we give birth to that move us onward and upward forever. That's what really matters. And I want to show you that courage, compassion, and humility are always needed, and that you are truly the hero of your own life story. Indeed, if you look at every story closely, you'll see that every character in the story is you. Different aspects of you that want to be reconciled. Feels like English class, doesn't it? These two stories follow the hero's journey that Sarah mentioned, a term that was made popular by the mythologist Joseph Campbell, whom I love, but of course the hero's journey, this story is ancient. This ancient cycle that really has three parts: a departure, initiation, and a return. Protagonist, antagonist, and the synthesis of what has been learned. The prodigal son is attempting to teach a story to the Jews in Jesus' time that all are worthy of God's love, that all roads lead back to God's abundant love. By the way, the Jesus story is also a formula of the hero's journey. But that's another sermon. So let's get started. In the story of the prodigal son, we learn that a father has two sons, an older son and a younger son. The older son is loyal and trustworthy. He does all he should do to please his dad and his community. But the other son, the younger son, is called prodigal, which means wastefully extravagant. He wants his inheritance while his father is still alive, so his father agrees to give it to him. It's some money, I guess. The next day, the younger son packs his things, decides to leave home. And in no time, he blows his inheritance on, I'm guessing, parties and food, getting his groove on, whatever he pleased. But he found himself broke and broken in a land that now was experiencing a drought. So hardship all around. He needs money. He decides to work on a farm, finds himself stuck feeding pigs. And as he's looking at these pigs eat, he's hungry and he's thinking, you know, that slop kind of looks good. Oh my gosh, what has happened to me? He realizes he's reached a low point and thinks about going home. Maybe I should just go home. And he humbles himself, decides to go home. His father sees him coming down the road on the way home, gets excited and greets him with abundant love. My son, welcome home. He tells his workers, go get a robe, go get some shoes, go slaughter a cattle, let's have some beef, let's celebrate. My son is alive. He was dead, but is alive again. He was lost, but is found. The younger son couldn't believe it. And the older son couldn't understand. How could dad be happy with this prodigal, wasteful child of his? I mean, I did everything I was supposed to do. He tells this to his father. And his father says he is dead and is alive again. He was lost, but now is found. But the older son just doesn't understand. And then the story ends. Well, the story has multiple meanings, I think. I mentioned this abundant love that God has for those who are considered found, but also those who wander. That it doesn't matter, that love is ever present. But there's more, especially for the message of pilgrimage today. Why do we choose the paths that we choose? One son chose a path that was safe and pleasing to his family and community. The other son chose a road that seemed reckless. But the truth is, the larger wisdom here is that both sons had different destinies. One path seemed a safe bet, the other seemed foolish, but it seems to me that both sons required different learning experiences. The younger son needed to escape the familiar, to appreciate it more. He needed the hard lessons to squander his inheritance. The lesson is really hard for parents like me and many of us to understand that with our children, we sometimes have to let go. People have to be allowed to follow their path, their dreams, no matter how ludicrous it might sound. And that's why autocracy is so wrong. It stunts growth. It doesn't give people the ability to manifest their best. People have to be free to grow their souls. To be lost is being found. Hey, you've driven in your car and you've gotten lost, and eventually, you're here today, so you found your way out. With death, there is inevitably rebirth. There's no escaping the natural law. Winter is coming, and some hate winter. They see it as a time of desolate death. It's mundane, gets dark early. Who invented this daylight thing? But some see hope in winter. Why? Because it's a reminder that springtime will come again. That which is lost is also in the process of being found. So this ancient tale is reminding us to never lose hope when things seem lost. And it's a reminder that when people and the things we love are given the space, not all the time, but oftentimes they come back home again. And when they come home, we must receive them with open arms, full of that abundant love. That's the larger message, the abundant agape love. So the prodigal son is very similar to this character, Santiago, in the story of the Alchemist. Santiago dreams of a better life, going on an adventure that gets him away from his herd. He's a shepherd boy. Santiago attended seminary, was an avid reader, and he read books that took him places that he wanted to realize into his life. And he had this dream of visiting Egypt and the pyramids where there is this buried treasure that awaits him. And he looks at his flock and says, maybe I should leave this place. I know it so well. These sheep, they do what's expected. But he wants to pursue his personal legend, his dream, his goal, his life purpose. So after receiving his father's blessing and speaking to an oracle and then a magical man, he gets the courage to leave home. Now this magical man is supposedly a king from the old times, and he gives him some wisdom before he embarks on this journey. Follow the omens. The world's greatest lie is that you are not in control of your fate. Your personal legend is your purpose for being alive. It comes when you are young and unafraid, and it keeps coming to you and asking to be fulfilled, but most push it away eventually. Many are afraid of it because it comes with a cost. This desire you have resides in the soul of the world. And when you desire something, the whole universe conspires for you. Powerful words. And not long after Santiago, he tests these words. He moves on with his journey. And then he gets robbed and loses all his money. And he wants to quit his dream. But he remembers what the old king told him. So he gets a job working in a crystal shop. And then he learns more lessons. The shop owner taught him maktub, as it is written. Better stated, some things are meant to be. So after some time working in the crystal shop, he gets enough money, thinks about going home, but still decides to continue his journey to the pyramids. He crosses the Sahara Desert and meets another friend, an Englishman, along the way. A new teacher tells him some of what the old sages had taught him. Follow the signs, follow the omens. Listen to the desert, allow it to speak to you. The Englishman is on his own journey to meet the alchemist, another magic man who has powers over nature, who knows how to turn metals into gold. And so the journey continues. Santiago meets a woman, and he instantly falls in love at an oasis in the desert. This presents paradox. Can I complete my dream and have my love too? The answer is yes. But Fatima, his love, tells him, if this is meant to be, then you will return. And if you don't pursue your personal legend first, you will never be fulfilled. You won't be satisfied. So he reluctantly continues. And in a strange twist, the alchemist whom the Englishman was seeking comes to Santiago magically and becomes a teacher for him and a companion on his last bit of the trip to Egypt. But the alchemist leaves him and tells him, you have to finish this journey alone. This is yours to finish, not mine. But while the alchemist was with him, he shared many things, many bits of wisdom, showing him how to harness the power of the sun and the wind, how to be courageous and trust the power of love, to read the signs, to know that all manifestations are really one manifestation. All things are manifestations of one thing. That everything is alive, including the earth. The alchemist told him, understand this and you understand alchemy, because alchemy is about the soul of the world. Finally, there are more trials and threats to his safety. He loses his money again. He gets his money back. He loses it again. And he's beaten up this last time by some thieves. And he lay half conscious right next to the majestic pyramids, his destiny. He does not find the treasure, though. But as he laid on the ground semi-conscious, he heard one of his tormentors making fun of him for seeking buried treasure. And this bully goes on to tell him, oh, I had a vision one time, and the magic people told me the treasure was supposedly, in this silly place. And he starts describing it, and Santiago realizes that's exactly his village where he lives. The old seminary where he studied, that's where the buried treasure was. And even though he was in pain and suffering from this beatdown, he laughed heartily. In his moment of loss, he found what he was searching for. He returned home, found the treasure, and the book ends with him deciding to go back to the oasis to be with his love. He had become the alchemist. The end. Well, that is my very bad version of a good story. But why is this story important to us, along with the story of the Prodigal Son? Some of it you've already discerned for yourself. First, a pilgrimage is a sacred journey. And your entire life is a pilgrimage. ups and downs, fits and starts, deserts and oases. When you desire to have something, there will be trials and tribulations. You will be let down, you will be taken advantage of, beaten up by life. The tests will come. But help will also come, and oftentimes when you need it the most. That's the soul of the cosmos vibrating. It's the truth that there is a Holy Spirit within this heartbeat of life. You say, I want to be a parent. I want to be a teacher. I want to be married. I want to go to college. I want a new job. I want to retire. I want to live peacefully in retirement. No matter what the desire, it comes with a literal and physical price. Stepping into that desire to realize it, that is our purification process. It is how we grow. It is how we become an alchemist. And we can't be afraid to separate from the sheep or leave home or disappoint others to live that bold and compassionate life. Now, I really want to break it down to you. Alchemy is a very cool word. My friend, he's a professor and poet laureate in Wisconsin. He studies English and words and ancient religion. He's so brilliant. He says al means the. And chem, of course, we see that word in chemistry. But chem means black soil, as in Egypt and Kemet, black dirt. And stri means magic. And you put that together and you have the black soil magic, or black magic. Ooh. But it really means the magic from the earth. The magic from the elements, the magic from life itself. The alchemist said we must know the soul of the world to be an alchemist. The soul of the world ebbs and flows, has ups and downs. Open your eyes and see the alchemy everywhere. When you cook in the kitchen with all the ingredients, you're putting it together, that's alchemy. When you're, painting that fence, wax on, wax off, that's alchemy. You see it in scientific disciplines and corporations. It's everywhere in the animal kingdom. If you are on a pilgrimage through life and you're not noticing and understanding the process and processes that are taking place, then you are missing the essence of who and what you are. In the old days, alchemy was about turning lead into gold to make rich men more rich. It was a rigorous process. And actually, they didn't necessarily turn lead into gold, but they did find hundreds of other things, cures for diseases, new inventions. When you go on a journey to find a specific thing, you end up finding other things in the process. Modern chemistry was born out of alchemy, the old magic from the earth. But the alchemists were also very spiritual. They were determined to find that elixir, that eternal elixir for human immortality. They wanted to purify certain elements until there was nothing left but pure soul to drink it and live forever. I'm sure many of them died. They never found the key to immortality, or did they? The literal attempt to turn one thing into something else led them to a spiritual awakening. How do we turn lead, a mundane human life, into gold, a life lived fully with courage, meaning, and purpose? Their experiments taught them that if people can learn to understand the underpinnings of the universe, that we are one with nature, and one, that is that we are already immortal. That is the sweet elixir of life. Alchemy with the elements is alchemy with the soul. The soul is going through a purification process, they would say. Better stated, our evolvement into fully human, fully divine beings is the alchemical goal. It is our personal legend. And what does that look like, that golden life, that life of gold? I believe a bold and compassionate life, a life of wisdom, a life of acceptance of the underpinnings of life and the ebbs and flows. We'd see a person who can distill those things and still come to that all-encompassing force called love. And I believe when this happens for a person, the biblical story of God's abundant love for the prodigal son will make sense. You understand that people have to follow their hearts even when it seems foolish. Saying goodbye is saying hello. Suffering breeds character. Death is not the end, but the beginning of a new process of growth. You will see that the personal legend is really a conduit toward you experiencing the fullness of what life is and what life has in store for you. And you'll see that the goal is there as aspiration to get you moving. But it's not really about the completion, which has its rewards, but it's really about who you are becoming. You are the treasure. What jewels are you adding to your bounty? Are you growing in wisdom? Are you growing in love? What are you learning? Are you purifying the substance of who and what you are, refining it to become gold, the best version of yourself, because you are the alchemist. You are the alchemist. You are the alchemist. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend John. So let's go ahead and take a moment to consider, to pause and reflect. These questions are on your connection card, I believe. What is your personal legend? Or how do you want to be remembered? Or what stories shaped your identity? So if you would, take a moment and write your thoughts on the connection card. We'd love to hear from everyone. And online, you can check chat for the link. In person, raise your hands if you still need a card. We were a little short this morning, but okay, we're good in here. That's great. So take a moment to jot your name down there, reply to an invitation, ask a question, or just check in. With so many changes these days, this really helps the staff keep UUCA growing and thriving. The ushers will be by to collect your cards shortly. Now is the time, oh, a bell, how perfect, to light a candle of remembrance or write in the memory book.